Hey guys, welcome to Podtendo's Ultimate Tiers List, where we're ranking every podcast that we've been playing on our, or every game, sorry, that we've been playing on our podcast for the last 7 years. We're up in like the 120s. We're just making one big definitive list as I'm slowly zooming out on my Google browser here, because, man, we're getting a lot of games. A lot of games.
Yep. It's crazy how many we've actually played over the years. So
I wonder at some point if we should just like delete a category. Like, is okay but skippable? Are they just like so memorable? No, you got to show everything, right?
yeah, well, I think especially since we're so close. There's like 30 games left or less than.
And then it becomes like a game a week every 2 weeks, so it does slow down. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yep. And I think it'd be funny if we had this like giant tier at some point, like to the point where you can barely make anything out. I would feel so intimidating starting on this episode. Like if I'm just a random viewer, hello random viewer, and you've listened to, like, I'll give you a minute. Feel free to check out because there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I think most people would pause it, skim the list, and see if they agree with our picks or think we're idiots, and then be like, "What episode did this get added?"
I can't tell you.
Good luck trying to figure that out.
Yeah, you'd have to go to your iTunes and search an episode. Oh, gosh, that sounds...
Best thing to do is watch all our episodes on YouTube.
There you go, and like and subscribe.
There you go.
Please don't.
Wow, look,
Please don't.
Yeah.
Don't. Actually, I don't want you to subscribe. Don't do that. You can liking's fine, but subscribing, nah, ain't about that life, dog.
Yeah. We're not materialists.
Nah, I ain't about shill out for nobody. But we'll get into this list, though, that's for sure. The first game we're going to talk about is from some episode randomly. I don't have a list in front of me. Who cares? Mortal Kombat.
Yes. The first Mortal Kombat.
The rich experience of the first Mortal Kombat. Where do you belong?
Yeah, I think it kind of... I'm thinking it's kind of... Is it that good?
Okay, all right. That's... What is it worse than?
I was looking at Sonic 1 and being like, would I rather play Turtles or Mortal Kombat? But I'm not a crazy Mortal Kombat fan. But
somewhere like in here?
Yeah. Because F-Zero's not bad. Earthworm Jim's not terrible, but... Same with Mortal Kombat.
Even the most diehard Mortal Kombat fan would probably tell you it's okay to skip the first one and like get in around like 5 or something. You'd be like, it's just more fun. This one, it's kind of bare bones.
Yeah.
Because they rip each other's skeletons out, then they're just bare bones. Ha ha ha. Let's save the big guys for the end. Let's go with Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Where do Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire belong on this list?
Yeah, I'm feeling good but flawed.
I kind of feel like no spoilers, but at this point I believe Pokemon is out. Like it's definitely better than Diamond and Pearl.
Yes.
Right? In terms of these other RPGs we have kicking around, like it's better than Evo.
Yep.
It's not as good as the first. Is it better than the first one? Maybe?
I mean, I'm like probably, but I feel that it's just I don't like it as much.
Like, do you like it that much less?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'm just gonna put them together, and then that way, no one can be upset with us. I think it's good but flawed. It's not terrible though. Like, it's probably my second favorite Pokemon game, and that's how I have it ranked. Oh no, look at that. Pokemon Gen 1's number 1. That's too bad. Okay, all right. Let's Shadows of the Empire. Star Wars game. Where does that belong?
I think I just like it's not as good as everybody who goes back and it's like, oh, it's not terrible. I remember we didn't have a horrible time with it, but I also just remember laughing because the story is ridiculous, and I like to pretend that Dash Rendar is just making stuff up. It was his big imagination, because he apparently just takes on the entire empire and wins.
Oh yeah, no problem. It's all him. I mean, I do like the Hoth scene. The Battle of Hoth scene was pretty top notch for the N64 at the time. That's the second level, or maybe even the first level, right? So I think that's why people have like fond memories. But like, man, I played that Battle of Hoth for hours. Like, yeah, but there's like a whole other game that you have to play, and there's parts that just there's like a speeder bike gang through Mos Eisley.
And the platforming is just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at this game. Now, this is a tough one to rank. Pokemon Snap. Where does Pokemon Snap rank? Is it just there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because it's a quick little enjoyable experience, but it's not super deep. So.
No. And actually, if you listen to our show, you can't listen to that episode. It's unlistenable. It's terrible. It may not exist. And it's double up. For some reason, if you're looking at our number system, just randomly we have 90, which is something, and then 91 is Pokemon Snap, and then 91 is also Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. So, in theory, Pokemon Snap may not exist, and because it was recorded so terribly, it might just disappear at some point, and we re-release an episode on it and go from there.
Yep. Maybe we'll do a twofer with that in the new one. So.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. I think I don't own any Switch games at this point. I have like 12 Switch games that I've like lent to people. So some nights I'm like, hey, we should go play Switch. And we have like nothing to choose from. We're down to Doki Doki Literature Club. And that's it. So.
You might want to be like Blockbuster and start calling people.
Oh, I have late fees that these people don't know about. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Better cash in.
There we go. So, speaking of cashing in, this is a kind of a weird one because we have DuckTales here, and then we've got its collection of Disney Afternoons. So, the Disney Afternoons, Darkwing Duck, what's it called? Tailspin, and Chippendales Rescue Rangers. So, where does this belong?
This game's a lot of fun. It's not
okay.
Like no, I think it's a good, okay, but skippable for sure. It's fun. It's not. Mm-hmm. Amazing. I think you really enjoyed Tailspin.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. So there's lots of, the value in this game is pretty substantial, especially, but unfortunately each of these games standing alone on their own is kind of hollow, but when you get 4 of them, that's not too bad.
That's not bad. DuckTales, great experience. Tailspin stood out above the other two, right? Darkwing Duck is just kind of like a shooting version, but it's also frustrating. Chippendales Rescue Rangers is, I don't know, also kind of weird. I think okay, but skippable. If you never played them in your life, that's fine. If you see it on sale at some point, buy it, and you're going to be like, man, that was okay.
Yeah, it was okay,
right.
But skippable. I maybe should have kept my money, but...
But, it was okay. All right, let's hit the big dogs here. So we're going to hit Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So if Castlevania 4 is there, it has to be at least above that. So it's a great experience, right?
Yeah. Is it required playing?
I would have no problem putting it there. In terms, boom.
Yeah, I was thinking required playing because, this game is The Godfather. So I've been saying that too many times.
Yeah.
So
you need to buy what's it called? One of those things that
have.
Oh, okay. You have one.
Yes.
So you have heard of it. Okay. You just.
I just can't use it.
I just can't. That's fine. Yeah, I like myself. I like the little clumps that we have going on. Right, you can kind of look through our list and you can find we've got some fighting and beat 'em up games kind of together, and we have our sports games kind of down here. Right, it goes hand in hand in my mind with Super Metroid. I think Super Metroid is such an elite experience. This is an elite experience. Literally together, you get Metroidvania. That's why they're there. They're right up there on the top. Besides that Diddy Kong got knocked down, but I guess I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, there's too many good games.
It might get knocked down further. Oh no! When we talk about Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, something like that.
No, it doesn't belong there. It's definitely better than that.
No, I know.
Is it better than Chrono?
I think it's in required playing personally.
Whereabouts though?
I don't hate it.
Okay.
I don't hate it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can live with that. This was the first. So I was watching actually a retrospective on Ocarina of Time last night because that's, as a 30-year-old man, that's all I think about. And, man, it was good. For the time, what it did, it created a cohesive 3D world. There was interactive dungeons. There was, it's just all well tied together, and it seems very cohesive, and it's not broken up by puzzles, or they're like, oh, you've defeated this magical land. Now we'll send you somewhere else. Right?
The pacing's sweet. Like it's that sweet balance of it rewards you for exploring, but you're not gonna waste hundreds of hours exploring. You're actually gonna like enjoy the world. But by exploring, you may uncover a few things that you wouldn't have uncovered till later, or you may have missed altogether. It's an adventure. It's the best. Like I love it. It's
Well, it holds, and like not only that, but every game kind of since this game, it was copied, right? Like Skyward Sword is just kind of like, what if you could swing your sword and fly in Ocarina of Time, right? In fact, I would say Skyward Sword is probably worse because the world is disjointed, right? The fire world doesn't connect with the forest, doesn't connect with the swamp. They're all independent, whereas this world, you go from one screen to the next and it takes you around the world, right? Like that's
and I think one thing is that makes this game really stand out is every area is memorable.
Mm-hmm.
It's every corridor, every bloody courtyard, every open field, every like kind of hut. It's kind of like
they don't waste space. Yeah,
you can almost like see a screenshot of any you could probably just take a random screenshot of the game and show it to somebody, and I would bet that they'd get it
instantly. Yeah, that's fair. Like compared to say a Pokemon game, right? So like we just kind of recently Diamond and Pearl. How many towns did you walk through that you did not interact with a person other than maybe using the Poke Center? You just moved on with your life and you couldn't tell me anything about that town. It's super immemorable versus Zelda has so much in the world you have to explore. You like different trees have like, you go in there, you get a heart piece. And I think it just helps kind of make every world cohesive as there's no wasted space. They're not just throwing fluff at you for fluff's sake.
Yeah, and they're so efficient that they stack stuff on top of it. So it's like, oh, maybe if you run around the backside and get onto the roof, and then you can go into this other little spot.
Yeah,
where somebody sitting here wants to sell you a bottle or whatever. It's so good, and I think that's like playing Diamond and Pearl. I ran around, and I talked to everybody, and there was nothing to interact with, nobody to really like. There was nothing to gain. Whereas in Zelda, it kind of rewarded you for just talking to everybody.
So if you wanted, and for some reason our required playing means have a better understanding of video games, not be the best video game player in the world, right? We're going to call you like a noob, but to have a better understanding of where video games come from today, I think it owes a lot to Ocarina of Time, right? Lots of like, look at the game Assassin's Creed. Does that not have weird tie-ins to Ocarina of Time and like just built on what they did there? So I think if I have a better understanding of where games are, you kind of have to look at this one, right? So the OG. And then finally our last guy here is Majora's Mask. Ooh, Majora's Mask. We did a year-long retrospective on both Ocarina and Majora. So where does Majora belong on this list?
I really hate to bump this down, but I'm kind of looking at, do we put it in between like Mario 64 and Donkey Kong Country 2?
There? That high, eh? Could it be required? I mean, would you put them both together? I don't know.
Yeah. I love that.
Okay. Yeah, like did it leave a bad taste in your mouth? No, I can live with that. I think that's a good spot for it. Like they go hand in hand in my mind. They're two sides of the same coin, right? And again, they use all the assets of this game to create something we've never seen before. A time-based game. 3 days play out, independent of your interactions with it, and that's pretty cool, right? Like characters move around, they have their own autonomy, they do things, they have a schedule that they follow, and you see that in later games, right? Like think of Grand Theft Autos where you have to follow guys around and people have set pattern, but even that's random. This is literally every element of the game for the most part. They do stuff, they have schedules, they live lives. That's cool.
Well, and I also just think of like MMOs. Well, they're like, hey, come back to here at this point in the middle of the night. Like, but they have a whole, like, they just time continues, but they had such limited hardware. They have to be like, no, we have to reset it. So what's a cool narrative device that we could use?
Yeah.
And they tied it into the story. So they took the limitations and they like just embraced them. And that's that's such a masterclass of the people that worked on it. Like
that's a good point you brought up with the MMOs, like a Skyrim or something like that, where you're like, oh, better go to this like ritual in the woods with me. And like if you go at night at 10 o'clock, he's just in the woods walking around and you're like, cool. Like if I didn't interact with that quest, you go do it anyways. That becomes because they worked on it in Majora's Mask, right? So required playing, give it a chance. It's a really neat, intricate world. Once you figure out how it works, easy peasy. So,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good solid spot for it.
Like where are we at comparative wise? So got two lines, three, and one. Oh, four
That's
here.
got 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's probably some bad with good. So here we go. So we hit the 100 mark. Exciting. Why don't we have more shows in this episode? Because I believe episodes like 97, 98, 99, and 100 were just the Mario games again. So
Yeah, and sometimes we did more. I think we did another randomizer at this point.
oh yeah, that definitely explains why we don't have more this episode, because 4 of our shows just got scrapped. So
Yeah. Well, we also, because we didn't touch Mario games from the since the beginning.
Yeah, it was
we
the
wanted
first-
to relive it at
yeah.
100.
First
right?
episode to 100. Cute. Dichotomy. Yeah, I think I'm good. Anything else jumping out on this list that we should rectify now that we've done our first 100 before we get into the 100 and somethings?
No, I think this is a solid list, and I mean, this list explains so much of our childhood.
Yeah.
But it's very cool because I think that there was by the way we have it set up with our required playing, our good experiences, and our great experiences, good but flawed, and okay and skippable, and then just burn it. That's a good way to organize and everything, and I think it works. But if we want to change anything, I'm sure we can always change it next time.
Yeah, I mean, it probably also, if you look at this list, this is probably how I play video games. I play this once every 2 years, I'm playing these games. Probably once every 3 years, I'm getting the itch to play one of these games, and then I haven't gone back to a lot of these. These ones I will never go back to. And these ones, I literally buy copies and burn, so.
Yeah, well, I know that there's sometimes people are they could maybe criticize that, well, Pokemon should be higher, it should be in the required playing. It's when was the last time you threw in your original copy of Red and Blue?
Yep. You don't do it. You
just don't do it. I play Stardew pretty regularly, but I understand that's just more of a relaxing than it is an actual.
I play this game almost every single day. So if we want to talk about it's that comfort gaming. We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Takes you to a safe place. Yeah. So cool. Yeah, I'm good with that. That gets us through our first 10 episodes. We've got at least probably 2, 3 to go, and then I think we're bi-weekly. So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll see you guys next week as we get past 100.
See you.